This is Trash Panda Publishing. Thank you for joining our podcast, where raccoons talk about books and publishing, and of course, anything related to raccoons. I'm your host, David James. I am broadcasting from Miami. It is December 27th at 10:20 p.m. And tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to read a few emails from the hustlers that always send me solicitations, I guess, for services. And then I'm going to read a chapter of my book, Escala's Wish. We do have other authors who have submitted their chapters to read. Unfortunately, I did not, I did bring the list with me, but I don't have everything printed out with me here to do the proper introductions, and I don't want to rush that. But of course, I can introduce my own book, so I'm going to read, I think, chapter 1 and 2. But before we get to that, we have had one person apply, or that's not the right word, audition to be Ava. I won't say who it is yet, but it was wonderful. And I know there was someone else who told me they were going to, so I think they were on Christmas break, and they said they needed to get back to their computer when they get back home for Christmas. So there's at least 2 listeners who are interested in being Ava. If you are new to the podcast and have not listened to any of the first couple of episodes and are wondering what in the world is he talking about, Ava Honeysuckle is a character on the show who is the love interest of Crimson Jack Acorn III, who is also a character on the show. Both of them are characters, by the way, in book number 2. And I am looking for a woman to be Ava on the podcast, not necessarily live, although at some point I would love to do that and do some improv. But it'll be pre-recorded. I would send questions for you to answer in character with some sort of guidelines about how Ava would think about these things, but then you would improv it. And put your own spin on it based off of a character profile for Ava with lots of sass and fire and energy that would match Ava and who she is. And I would react to that on air and mix it together so it would sound like it was live. I think it would be a lot of fun. And we will do that at some point in 2026 because we have at least one Ava. And if no one else applies, then there we go. We have our Ava. So that's where we are with the Ava thing. But I do want to read before we get to my chapter. Loida is back. And for those who have listened to the first 4 episodes, you might recall that Loida R. Was one of the hustlers that has been emailing me, trying to get me to buy Spotify. I keep saying Spotify. I've been listening to these. I'm like, what is wrong with me? It's Shopify. These podcasts are listed on Spotify, and I have music from my music career on Spotify, but the store is on Shopify. So I should be dope slapping myself, and here I'm criticizing her for her stupid use of the English language, and I can't even get the location of my store correct. So Loida, I'm sorry, I'm also guilty. Anyways, Loida is a Shopify expert, self-proclaimed, of course, no sources whatsoever. There's no websites in her emails showing me her business. It is Gmail only. It just makes me amazed that if these people are legit consultants, why aren't they sending me a link to a legit website? Because they're not real business people. It's all a scam. But I'm having fun. And we have been communicating with Loida for, 2 or 3 days now. And to catch you up, I'm just going to scroll through the email traffic we had with Loida. She was the one, if you might recall, told me that she could increase my sales for this Christmas. She told me this 3 days before Christmas that she could take me from 1,000 items sold to 2,000 items sold within 24 to 72 hours. No evidence whatsoever of how she was going to do this except just send money to her. Well, she never said how much, but she told me that she doesn't work for free. Well, I did reply back to her. Let me see, what did I say to her that I thought had sort of ended our discussion? Let me see. I got to look at the email trail here. I did write the big long book that told her that basically the only wisdom I could, or the only assistance I could give her was like where trash cans were emptied and which porches had good cat food. You might recall that long story. And at the very, very end of it, I said the only assistance I needed was with Ava. And she didn't reply back for a while until today. And I don't know if this is an AI thing or not, because she doesn't, unlike the other person who was actually asking questions, Eekpoo was actually asking questions about the raccoons. She does not appear whatsoever to be interested in these stories. And this is what she said today. Hello, I hope you're doing well. We had a pending discussion on a process to be implemented in order to achieve a successful e-commerce business, and I haven't heard back from you. I assume you are busy. Kindly let me know if you are still willing to get started and when you will be available to proceed. I look forward to your response. To the letter O, your response. I'm sure it's a typo, but it just amuses me. And no signature at the end. Just there's not even a goodbye or a talk to you soon. It just ends right there. So it might be an AI bot. I would have preferred this is where I had emailed her back going, in 72 font, how can I trust you to do anything when this Christmas isn't even the right term? I thought I had maybe shamed her. She does not even acknowledge that. So I wrote a story to her today, maybe like 10 minutes ago, actually, and here's what I wrote. I got to get into Crimson's voice. My life is stuck in neutral. Well, that's what Ava says anyways. She says I'm going nowhere, and I guess you probably agree with her. Because I don't even think you're listening here. I'm hurting. And I'm sharing all this with you because I thought maybe, just maybe, a human being cared, or could care about a raccoon, particularly one that is, well, let's be honest, extremely charming and adventurous. That's me we're talking about, if you were wondering. But all you want to do is talk about e-commerce and business. How can you talk about things like this when my romantic life is in disarray? And I'm not capable of even getting out of bed tomorrow. And that would mean that Ava was actually right, that I don't have a future. And if you had read my emails, you would know that my definition of future means getting out of bed tomorrow. So I don't have a future. And I don't know what you think about that, Loida, but it concerns me greatly. Sigh. Why is it that humans only think of money? Us wild animals, we think of food and water and relationships. Relationships, Loida. Relationships, not e-commerce. And I'm not talking about sex, Loida, here. I'm a proper raccoon. Although I can tell you that my heart races whenever I see Loida. And her physical beauty drives me insane. But that's an added bonus. And when we were little, before either of us had what you humans call hormones, we would lie on our backs in the thick grass up on Chief Hill. You know the place, about a mile north of here, near the bluffs. It's a wonderful view of Briar Woods. It was that warm summer night sitting on her mama's porch. I mean, no, that's a song. Sorry, I heard that somewhere. But it was warm summer nights. We were only, 10 or 11, something like that. Ava would tell me the most interesting stories of fairies and frogs and orangutans and spaghetti, probably. And I would tell her made-up stories about Dungeons and Dragons and the rule against perpetuities and don't ask, only lawyers know what that means. We'd talk about life and the true cycle and what other raccoons had gone on before us. Ava said that they were our ancestors. I just said they were unlucky. She elbowed me and said that I was being crass, but she laughed. And I said, look, we're trying to cross a chicken coop while climbing an electric fence is not unlucky. It's just stupid. I said, but the thing we should do is just turn off the fence and then climb over it. And she started to giggle, and I started to giggle. And then we both started to tickle each other. And next thing you know, we were both rolling in the grass, giggling and tickling each other, and it was the best. But you know what? Those days are past. And that was not sexual attraction, I'll let you know. We were 10 or 11. We didn't even know what that meant. I wasn't sexually attracted to anyone. And neither was she. We were too young for that. But I knew then I wanted to be with her forever. She was smart and she was funny. I didn't understand sexual desire or even attractiveness. And I need you to know this, Loida R., because Ava thinks I have a one-track mind. And she thinks that I only want her body and that I'm just driven by hormones. And that's simply not true. Of course I want her to be my mate. I'd be crazy to lie to you and try to deny that I'm not head over paws attracted to her. But it's so much more. Her drive, her intelligence, she knows everything. And I like being near her. I like her confidence. I mean, I'm somewhat confident raccoon myself, and I need to be with someone who can hold her own when they're around me. Ava has, let me come at this a different way. I have to be at the top of my game to remain relevant in her life, and that scares me. Because I don't know how long I can remain relevant. To her, that is. And I don't want to talk about business, Loida R. I don't. I want to talk about how I can remain relevant in Ava's life. Sincerely, Crimson Jack Acorn III. And I hit send. And that was about 45 minutes ago now. She has not replied. But in the meantime, we did get another email from a new person. This person said, he wrote, this is Mayos Alaro from Mayos WD Department 1 at gmail.com. So trying to be an official business. This person wrote, can I ask you, Smith, please? Now, U is spelled just the letter U. It's not Y-O-U. So can I ask you, Smith is not spelled correct. It's like S-M-T-H. So there's like missing the letter I. So can I ask you, Smith, maybe he meant something, but please is not spelled all the way out. It's P-L-S. So it's like this butchered half shorthand email. So I wrote back, may I Mama Goose to the banana patch on Friday with a large watermelon for a horse named Cindy May? And I sent that. We have not heard back from, actually, we did. He just replied. He said, thank you. He just emailed back like 2 minutes ago. I got a long response from him. Let's read this live here. That's the first time seeing it. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm reaching out to ask you if you'd be interested in giving me an opportunity to work for you. Oh, you want to be a raccoon? I understand that we don't know each other yet, and that trusting someone new online can naturally feel uncomfortable. I understand your caution, but I simply asking for a little chance to earn your trust by getting you the results you want for your store. You can check out my profile. And this guy actually puts a website here. Okay, this is a major upgrade from the other people. You can check out my profile at this link to confirm whether I'm worthy of your trust. I'm not going to click this link. It's probably malware. Here's what I would like you to do for your store. Arrow. I will revamp your storefront into a high-converting store that captures attention and converts visitors immediately. I will drive high-targeted visitors to your store, people who already have an interest in what you are selling. I will optimize your store for Google SEO visibility so your store ranks higher on search engines and begins to receive consistent organic traffic even when you're offline. Words alone cannot build trust. That's why I prefer to work for you first. I want you to be satisfied with the results of the work I do before you put your money into it. And then he gives me a link of a bunch of stores supposedly that he worked on. Once you've had a chance to review them, I will truly be grateful if you would consider giving me this opportunity to work for you. This is from a person who wrote, can I ask you, Smith, please? This is a very articulate email. Let's break it down. I'm not going to go sentence by sentence, but some of this stuff makes me laugh. I will revamp your storefront into a high-converting store that captures the attention and converts visitors immediately. Well, first of all, I'm a raccoon, and we already have a very attractive logo, which is me. There's not much more you can do to make that better. So sorry, fail on that part. I will drive highly targeted visitors to your store, people who already have an interest in what you are selling. What I'm selling is stuff related to my book. So unless you're going to sell books for me, I don't see how that's going to do anything, because what we're selling is characters from the book. There isn't going to be anybody in the world who knows anything about these characters if they don't buy the book, Mr. Mayos Alaro. So I call BS on that. I will optimize your store for Google SEO visibility so your store ranks higher on search engines and begins to receive consistent organic traffic. And this is the part that makes me laugh, even when you're offline. So let me get this straight. If I'm somehow online, then this will happen better? That makes no sense whatsoever. The websites work regardless of whether you're offline or online. So I'm not an idiot. That is just stupid. Words alone can't build trust. Well, I don't know about that. Well, actually, let me back up. You and Ava are a lot alike because she thinks words are BS too. So maybe you're Ava in disguise. And that's why I prefer to work for you first. So you're trying to win my love by actions. Well, you might be able to prove this with Ava, but Crimson Jack Acorn is not going to fall for this. I want you to be satisfied with the results of the work I do before you put your money into it. Well, I'm not clicking your link, my man, and you're not turning over the passwords to your website. So I'm going to think about this one, and I'm going to have a good raccoon response because we need content for tomorrow. So that is the news of the raccoons today. But now let's go to finish out the podcast. I do want to read Chapter 1 of Escala's Wish. Escala's Wish is my book that is a unique romantasy. It is, and when I say unique, what I mean by that is I haven't, of course, read every romantasy that's out there. I'd be a fool to say that I did. But what I can tell by talking to my writing coach and by sort of looking at some of the top trending books out there, yes, my book has fairies in it, but not the trope that is sort of popular today. And there's no werewolves. There are no vampires. There are no bad boy boyfriends. There are no enemies to lovers storylines. And those are very popular right now. Certainly Twilight was an example of vampires and bad boy boyfriends. And yes, there are people who like that. But that's not my story. There's also no steam. This is not a sexual book. It is not a rated R book. You're not going to get a sexy sexual thing here. You're going to get, if you've seen the episode or the season 1 of Friends, Ross and Rachel's relationship, that was, you wanted it so bad to happen, and everyone could see it except the two of them, and it just didn't happen. That is the kind of slow burn, realistic, painfully realistic romance that I give you. And I'm not going to tell you whether it actually succeeds or not. In fact, the book tells you and warns you this is not going to be a happy ending, so do not expect a storybook ending. The narrator warns you constantly because I'm trying to do something different. And that's why I use the word unique romantasy. It does not follow the tropes. It does, of course, involve a fairy, but she's like starts as a fairy and then is like a fairy for like none of the book. The premise is that, and you'll read this on the back, is that she broke a rule, and Escala Winters, the main character, she broke a rule, a Fae rule, and was banished from Fae world and lost her standing as a princess Fae and her physical form. She's not a fairy anymore. And the entire book is her trying to get back to what she started with, which is being a fairy princess. And everything that she has to go through and all the stuff that she did with an innocent act, a kiss, that nearly destroys everything, the worlds. That's what you'll read on the back of the book. I'm not giving anything away there. And in the midst of all that is a very clumsy, awkward, realistic kind of romance that is painful because it's realistic. And it is not the standard sort of what you're going to get in the other books. And that's what makes it so unique. It's also told in the perspective of a narrator. So if you've seen the movie Princess Bride and the old man comes into the bedroom and reads to the sick kid, and then he's reading, there's that scene, and then the movie cuts into the actual action. And then from time to time, it goes back to the bedroom and the old man and the boy are talking. I stole that, basically. My book has got the same style. There is a narrator who is talking to a bar, and he goes into the story, and the story takes place, and then he will come back out of the story and talk to the bar again. It's a wonderful way of telling story. It was hard to write, very hard to write. It's easy for me to tell you this, but it's difficult to write. To make it more complicated, the narrator actually becomes a character in the story at a certain point, so it's even more difficult to write. But when I was done, I was really happy with how it came out, and my readers, my ARCers, told me that they'd never really read anything like that. And it is unique, and that's why I say it's a unique romantasy. I've never, in this entire podcast, I've never even introduced myself other than saying my name, so I should probably just, like I do for other authors, just sort of say who I am. I'm David James. I'm in my mid-50s. I am a lawyer by trade, and not the kind of lawyer who sues people. I'm a corporate lawyer. I work for a corporation, and I deal with lawyers that sue us. I basically make certain that the company keeps itself in line with regulations, follows our contractual obligations, and mitigates risk. That's what I do, and I love it. I love the people I work with. I love the company that I'm in. I love the industry I'm in, and it's what I was born to do. And for fun, when I'm not at work, I produce music, which is on Spotify, and that's probably why I keep saying Spotify, and on iTunes and all the other streaming services, and you could find that by my stage name is DJ the Not So Ordinary. I got about 24 songs, I think. And now I've always wanted to write novels, mostly legal thrillers, and I've started 3 of them. They're all outlined, but I've only written about a third of them, about halfway through or so. And I stopped because it wasn't fun. And I realize now it's because I do law all day long, and writing about it is not fun for me. It wasn't a release. And when I moved to romantasy, it was incredibly fun. It was such a release of stress. And it still was incredibly hard work. This book took me a year to write, working literally every single night and almost entirely all weekends, Saturday morning starting at 7 a.m. all the way to like midnight almost every Saturday for almost a year. But it was incredibly satisfying. And that's Escala's wish. That's a little bit about who I am. I've got 4 dogs. My wife is a lawyer. My oldest son is a lawyer. My middle son is in law school, and my daughter is in college and is probably going to be an accountant, although she did mention law school once. But in any event, that's a little bit about me. I live in Massachusetts, suburbs of Boston. I live in the woods, and where the raccoons come from, if you're wondering, is because there are raccoons in my woods, and I see them from time to time. And they used to actually, when I take the trash down, would empty the trash cans all over the street. I don't take the trash cans down at night anymore because they will do that. I take it down in the morning. But that's where Trash Panda came from. It's because I see the raccoons, and they are basically part of the ecosystem in which we live. We've lived there for 20 plus years, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I don't know, of course, if it's the same raccoon or not, but it is a family of raccoons, and that is where Trash Panda came from. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to read Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is 1 page, so don't panic. Okay, Chapter 1. It has a heading, which is basically a date and a location. I'm going to read that, and then I'll get into and then I'll just transition right into the text. 4,853, after purge, present day. It's 5 bells after the noon meal, and I'm outside the Stag and Hound on Tavern Lane in Dunwell's Alehouse Quarter. I'm 3 feet tall and weigh 35 pounds, and I carry myself with confidence. My reddish-brown skin resembles polished cherry wood, and my vibrant green hair sticks up in wild directions like I touched a lightning bug while standing in a bucket of water. My eyes are striking amethyst. Like all gnomes, I've got pointed ears. And I also sport a rather large nose. People will tell you I'm generally happy, so there's often a smile on my face. As late afternoon settles over Dunwell, a modest city of 50,000 souls west of the capital of Arundel, on the continent of Torvan, townsfolk begin their daily promenade down Tavern Lane, Folks are already weighing their evening options, scouting which tavern has the best roast, the strongest ale, and the most interesting bards. The street hums with chatter, laughter, and gossip. And nestled in the cobbled bustle is the Stag, one of Dunwell's finest taverns. Larger than most, it boasts a timber frame facade lit by wrought iron lanterns that flicker to life after dusk. The Stag's common room is where I earn my keep. It's a space, both grand and worn, with a massive hearth at one end and a small wooden stage at the other. And presiding over this establishment is Robbie Pints, the tavern's esteemed owner, and known to regulars simply as Pints. No one knows his age, but judging by his wrinkles and his graying hair, I'd wager he's seen at least 60 winters. Stout and broad-shouldered, from years behind the bar, he carries a solid strength of a man shaped by hard work and hearty meals, and a slight paunch betraying his fondness for his own wear. His thick gray hair frames his face, and his beard full and is neatly trimmed. And I'll add, Pints is smart. How do I know? Well, he hired me. I'm a bard extraordinaire, and my job is to fill the drinking room of the Stag, as most people call this place. And to do this, I plant myself outside the Stag, pitching unforgettable night awaiting him just beyond its doors. Along Tavern Lane, every bard and entertainer does the same, each hired by a rival tavern, each trying to outcharm the rest. Our job is to draw them in and make them laugh and make them cry. But most importantly, loosen their purse strings. It's all flash and charm, a contest of charisma. But truth be told, I'm only competing with myself. Everyone else is fighting for second place. I'm Wigworth Foreverbloom, bard medic of Misty Springs, and I was born for this. As the evening shadows form on the cobblestone street, soot-stained laborers who finish their shifts at 5 bells head up Tavern Lane. Across the way, 2 female bards in lace bodices flaunt legs and cleavage outside the Golden Goose Tavern. Their flirtatious smiles offer little more than trouble. Their songs have slurred refrains and more chant than melody, and their voices sound like alley cats drowning in sour wine. Stories? Well, none to tell. They offer only bawdy ballads and crude jests, enough to fill their taverns with laughter and shouting and drunken buffoonery. That's fine by me. That's not the crowd I'm after. Their kind will drink the cheapest ale, fall into a stupor, and likely end up breaking a chair over someone's head. No, I seek a different kind of guest. Those who settle in for a long tale. The ones who leave with their hearts a little fuller and their purses a little lighter. Around 6 bells, the merchants begin to drift down the Tavern Lane. Their shops are shuttered and their coin purses jingle with the weight of the day's earnings. They come seeking food and drink and a bit of amusement. Many are easily swayed by revealing outfits and the batting eyes offered by the bards at the Golden Goose. But a few, the more discerning ones, are drawn to something else. Something with flair. Something with finesse. Something with me. Then, at 7 bells sharp, the real opportunity arrives. The pickier patrons, the nobler class. Notice, I didn't say noble class. These are the ones who think themselves above the common rabble, flush with coin and ambition. Those who have already controlled parts of the city or desperately want to. They aren't here for slurred limericks or lewd jests. No, they crave wit and wisdom and sharp intrigue and intelligence, the kind of performance that flatters their own cleverness. And that is precisely why Pints hired me, to bring them into the Stag. For they order the finest wines and the oldest whiskeys, the choicest meats and cheeses served on polished boards, and not slopped in bowls. This is my audience. Ah, here they are now, just as I foretold. A small cluster of elegant dressed noblers making their way towards the Stag. And with a practiced flick, I adjust my forest green cape so it drapes neatly over my gray-green leather tunic, the one with the sunflower embroidered proudly over the left breast, laced up with rawhide and flare. My fingers brush the silver rose at my throat, fixed to a black leather choker, a mark of subtle excellence. Naturally, of course. I clear my throat. And then, with all the power and presence a gnome bard can muster, I raise my voice to meet the moment. Friends and folks, you've heard bards spin tales of Dungeons and Dragons and devils and demons and knights and maidens and vampires and wizards. Tavern tales meant to amuse the common folk, desperate to escape their dreary lives for an evening. And I gesture up Tavern Lane with a theatrical disdain, singling out a portly dwarf hawking stories just outside Lion Mane's inn. His chainmail's clinking and there's a gravy stain glistening in the sun. Take, for instance, that windbag. I lower my voice just enough to be scandalous, but loud enough to be heard. He once told me he wears that chainmail to convince passersby he's an adventurer. His act? Bravado and borrowed glory. He'll sing in the first person, weaving exploits so daring you'll swear he faced them himself. But I happen to know he hasn't left Dunwell in 12 years. I half whisper, as though I'm letting them in on one great secret. And should any of you happen to own a certain volume entitled The Chronicles of Sir Roderick Bellamy the Explorer, you'll find his original tales suspiciously familiar. Just saying. A few passers-by chuckle, clearly appreciating my wit. The dwarf bard scowls at me. He's annoyed, of course, but let's be fair. Most of us bards have been trading barbs as long as we've been trading ballads. Hey, the streets of Tavern Lane are thick with bards who've long since grown accustomed to a little public mockery. Most bards in the city tonight will fill your ears with second-hand tales, I proclaim. They'll sing songs of someone else's adventures, or worse, spin yarns passed off as truth. I place my hand on my chest and offer a mock noble bow. But I am not most bards, and tonight at the Stag you will not find a tune to sing along with between mugs of ale. If that's what you seek, you are in the wrong place. I offer something rarer, a true story, a tale filled with love, betrayal, revenge, and redemption. It's called Escala's Wish, and it's a tale of twists and intrigue for those clever enough to keep up. This isn't a straight path, mind you. It winds and doubles back, layer upon layer. And if you've took one too many knocks to the head in your youth, best move along. You're going to lose the thread before the first verse is through. There's a ripple of laughter from the crowd outside the Stag, and I catch a man in his 20s elbowing his rotund friend. Tonight, dear friends, you're going to hear a tale I've never told before. This is the story of Escala Winter, a mischievous pixie from the Court of Dreams, whose single kiss nearly unmade the Fey realm and who set our world teetering on the edge of total destruction. And for those who ask, who is Escala Winter? And what is the Court of Dreams? And how could a single kiss doom all of us? I say, step inside and hear it with your own ears. I gesture to the open doors of the Stag. I offer more than a tale for those willing to part with a few coins. I offer secrets. Secrets that nearly shattered the true cycle and all of the law along with it. A skeptical voice cuts through the hush. And what makes your tale any different from his? The speaker points toward the dwarf bard, tuning a battered lute down the lane. I tell many kinds of tales, ancient lore, old fables, stories of wars, and travelers' rumors. I've spun them all, and when I do, I tell you what they are. I never stitch a lie to my name, I say. But when I say a story is true, and when I place my reputation upon it, you may be sure it's the truth, as sure as there's breath in my chest. I knew Escala Winter. I met her after she was cast out of the Fey realm. Yes, I said the Fey realm. She was banished from the Court of Dreams for violating Fey law, and I stood with her and a band of brave adventurers as we tried to help her. She said she was told to remove boulders from the true cycle. I grinned. A fool's errand, perhaps, but I'll let you decide that for yourself. And I saw what she did, and I walked beside her when our dear world, Valan, nearly ended. I was there when the Blackthorn Tower fell, I said. You remember that night, just a year ago when it was destroyed? A few heads nod. I saw the sky burn green, I say. A ripple of chatter moves through the crowd. They remembered. Just over a year ago, the Blackthorn Tower, high in Shadowspar Mountains, erupted in green flame, visible even from Dunwell. But I won't give the story away for free, so step inside the stag and be the first in Dunwell to hear what truly happened. More enter the stag. But if you're after the same old crude songs and tired tales about greedy mayors or kissing mermaids, keep walking. There's plenty of that down the lane. But if you crave something different, something original, something magical, step inside before the room is full. More noblers enter the stag, intrigued by my promise of a story unlike any they've heard. And why shouldn't they be? In all my years of barding, I've learned most performers carry a repertoire, a safe stable of songs and tales trotted out night after night until even the drunks can recite them. Familiarity might fill a few seats, but eventually it breeds boredom. Crowds crave something new, something fresh, and something they haven't heard before. And a tavern fills quickly when word spreads that tonight's story is being told for the first time, original, unborrowed, and unrehearsed. Of course, that comes with pressure. If you promise something new, it better be good. And mine is. I'm a bard extraordinaire. I know a good story when I see one, and the moment I met Escala and heard her plight, I knew I had to help her, if only to share her tale with all of Valar, starting with the crowd at the stag tonight. Yeah, sure, folks know fairy tales, lullabies, tavern tales, half-mocking ballads, but few believe fairies are real, and fewer still dare to claim to have seen one. So when I step into the street and promise not merely a tale, but a true story about a fairy I knew and secrets of the Fey realm, that's not just an evening's diversion. That's uncommon and irresistible, and trust me, people will pay dearly for something that rare. The stag's room is filling fast. Pints is collecting coins and ushering all the guests inside. With my work outside done, I push through the packed common room towards the stage. The room hums with chatter and anticipation. I pass Pints, who gives me a playful punch on the arm. "You drew a huge crowd," he says. "Make it a long story. I've got a lot of wine to sell." I flash a grin. "Oh, it'll be long, I promise, and unforgettable." I look at the huge crowd in the stag, and I whisper to myself, "By the gods, you crazy little pixie. Even gone, you still know how to draw attention to yourself." Chapter 2. On the stage, a small table holds a mug of ale to wet my whistle. The stool rests nearby for me when my legs grow tired. Yeah, the place is full tonight. I scan the room, quietly taking stock. It takes a moment for the crowd to notice. The din softens, but the hush always comes, and then all eyes turn to me. "Good evening, friends. I'm Wigworth Foreverbloom, Bard of Misty Springs, and welcome to the Stag and Hound," I declare, voice lifting just enough to ripple through the clatter of mugs and laughter. This fine establishment is owned by none other than Mr. Robbie Pints. The fare Mr. Pints has prepared tonight is the finest I've ever seen. Warm, fresh bread from the oven, hearty stews full of flavor, platters of meat and cheese that will make the noble jealous. Need a drink? Just lift your hand and one of Pints' sharp-eyed serving girls will be there before your thirst settles. Now, I could stand here all night talking about refreshments, or, if you'll indulge me, my own dashing good looks. That gets a proper laugh. But you came here for a story I promised, Escala's Wish. It's a tale of a curious pixie from the Court of Dreams who, with a single kiss, nearly destroyed the Fey realm, and the material plane with it. I rub my hands together. Let's begin. Those are the first two chapters of Escala's Wish. I hope you enjoyed them. I do hope that you check out the book. It is available on Amazon in pretty much every format: hardback, paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited. If you do read it, I'd love to hear what you think of it. And of course, I'd love to have a review. But even if you don't write a review, I'd love to talk about the book. If you would like me to read your book or a chapter of your book on the air, if you haven't done so already, message me. There's a list building, and I've got those of you who've sent me your book. It is on the list, and I'm going to get to you But if you haven't done so already, please email me at headraccoon@trashpandapublishing.com. I'm going to sign off now, and have a great day tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Trash Panda Publishing Podcasts. And like all raccoons, stay curious.